Right, I'm going to be showing you guys how to get this lovely little VHS retro look.
Before we get into this video, here are some useful timestamps. Now, I know a lot of you might not want to go through the hassle of creating the effects from scratch every time, so there's a link in the description below that will take you to my retro VHS pack. Here's a small preview. Downloading this pack will probably save you a lot of time, and if you already have some presets of your own, then why not add a few more? The first 10 people to use the discount code on the screen right now will get a nice little discount at checkout. Right, let's show you how to install this bad boy. The asset pack contains 5 folders along with the Premiere Pro preset. These folders contain 26 separate overlays that can be used along with the presets to enhance the overall look. To install the preset pack in Premiere Pro, go to the Effects tab, right-click the Presets folder and press Import Presets. Then navigate to the Presets file and press Open. You can now freely drag any preset you want onto your footage, and now you can customize it to your liking. On the other hand, the overlays can be used in any editing software. All you have to do is just drag it onto your timeline, click on the clip, and then go into the blending mode and set it to whatever you want. Screen usually works quite well for film burns. If you want to get a Super 8mm frame, you can drag that on there, but then you can also go to the blend mode, set it to multiply, and there you go.
Now let's jump into Premiere Pro and see how you can make this for yourself.
Right, so for this example I'm just going to use some random footage that I've got here. We're going to go to the Effects tab and grab the Mosaic effect. Drag that on there. And as you can see, if you adjust the vertical and horizontal blocks, the width of the respective blocks changes. So we want to get to about 500 on each of the horizontal and vertical blocks. Alright, that should look good enough. And then now we're going to get the unsharp mask effect. Just drag that on there. I'm going to set the amount to 100, the radius to about 10. And since your footage is obviously going to be different to mine, you might want to adjust it a bit. The radius is going to affect the radius of your effect, and obviously the amount's going to affect the intensity. So now you're going to want to search for the chromatic aberrations effect, and we can just drag that on there. And what I'm going to do here is set the fall off distance to 0 to try and get as little chromatic aberration as possible, because that's kind of the effects I tend to like a bit better. But obviously you can adjust it as you want. Now, as you can see, we can change the amount of aberration of each channel separately. I'm going to go for very subtle aberration and set the red to -2 and the blue to +2. And if we just toggle the effect on and off, we can see how much aberration we're getting. That looks quite good. There'll be a bit more aberration near the top and the bottom, but I don't mind that. I think that adds a bit more character to the effect. Next, we're going to search for the Lumetri color effect to do our color grading. If you just drag that to the top there. Now, if we look at some example VHS footage, the colors in the footage are a lot flatter than videos you see today. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower the whites down to about -50 and then the blacks up a bit to try and get that flatter look. And obviously everything depends on your clip as well, so just do what looks best to you. Next, we're going to go into the Creative tab, and we're going to turn the vibrance down a bit to make the more saturated colors a bit less saturated. And if we just toggle the effect on and off, yeah, that's looking quite good. Now here's where we get that more retro look. We can adjust the shadow tint to be a bit cooler or a bit warmer depending on what style you're going for. Retro footage tends to either be a bit warmer or a bit cooler, more than it tends to be purple or green, but that's all depending on your style. Now let's open up the curves tab, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to crush the whites a bit by dragging the end of the curves down and then across a bit to about there. And if we just go back to where it was before and have a look at the difference, you can see what effect it's having on the actual footage. And again, let's toggle it on and off, and you can clearly see we're getting a nice VHS retro vibe. Another thing with VHS footage is the temperature of the clip seems to vary a bit over time. So what I'm going to do is just animate the temperature a bit using keyframes in order to make it a bit cooler and a bit warmer as the clip progresses. One other thing you might want to mess around with is the vignette. So if you just drop down the tab and set that to any value of your liking. Next, we'll add a bit of distortion to the actual clip. So if you drag the wave warp effect onto your clip and drag it to the top of your effects, what we're going to do is change the wave type to smooth noise, and we're going to increase the height a bit, set the amplitude to about 100, and we can see it's already looking a bit distorted. I'll set the wave width to 20 and the direction we want it to be horizontal, so we'll put that to 0 degrees. And obviously that's already looking quite good, so we'll up the wave speed as well, probably to about 5. And because we don't want it to affect the whole clip, what we want is just a tiny bit of the clip at the bottom, for example, maybe at the top, that has this cool glitch distortion effect. So we'll add a mask and we'll crop that to our liking to make it just affect wherever you want it on your clip, essentially. I'm going to put it at the bottom because I think that looks quite realistic down there. However, there is one problem, and that is, if we just zoom in here, we can see these kind of cropping issues at the sides, and that can be fixed if we just go into the wave warp tab and put the pinning onto vertical edges. We can also duplicate this effect and animate the path of the mask to create some vertical distortion waves coming down. And finally, to top it all off, we're going to add some noise onto the top. And same thing again, if you just drag the effect to the top of the pile. And obviously, depending on your footage, you can just set this to whatever you want. I'm going to just have a look first and see what looks good. And I'm going to settle for about 15%. I think it looks quite good. And to add some final touches, the retro pack that's available in the description below has some assets you can add on top. So we can add a 4x3 overlay on top of this. We can add a few film burns as well to give it that extra retro effect. And if we just set the blending mode to screen, there we go, the final product.
Yes, my brother.